Today for the forum are from our long range planning section, and we also have Brian Ulrich here from our Office of Transportation. But I want to sincerely welcome you to the first community forums for Region Plans 2, 4, and 7. We are so glad you took time from your busy schedule to join us. The completion of 9 region plans is an effort to do more detailed planning than can be accomplished at the general development plan level. As many of you know, our general development plan was adopted last year. It's called Plan 2040, and it was adopted in May of 2021. In the late 90s and early 2000s, there were 16 small area plans completed in the county. That proved to be an unsustainable effort, and the region planning process is a middle ground between the small area planning effort and the GDP. Your input is valuable and will be taken into consideration as the region plans are developed. Please keep in mind that Plan 2040 and the region plans are policy documents that contain goals, policies, and strategies for implementation, and zoning, whether it be the zoning ordinance or the zoning maps, is by far the largest implementation tool for any plan and carries the force of law. The region plan process will include comprehensive zoning, which we will discuss in further detail today. I strongly encourage all of you to stay engaged all the way through the process, including when the plans go to the Planning Advisory Board and the County Council. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into this forum. Back to you, Lorenzo.
Thank you, Christina. I will now begin by sharing our presentation for today. 1 second as I go in it. Okay, everyone should be able now to see my screen. I see some people have a raised hand. If you do have some technical questions or something you want to let us know, you can type it in the chat. We are staff is able to see all the questions and what you type. We will try to get back to you. Does it, staff, Jessica, can I see a thumbs up from attendees' viewpoint if they can see the presentation correctly? Okay. Let's get into this. Meeting reminders. Again, you probably heard the message. This video is being recorded, so other people can look at it later. You can go back to it, see some of the information that we presented that you wanted to check back again. Participants, all of you are muted during the presentation, and you will be unmuted during the Q&A portion of the event, which is going to be most time-wise, most of the meeting. You can still use the chat to ask a question or add a comment, and we can do our best to address it when the time comes. And let us know if you have any difficulties technically accessing the information we're giving you. And then final reminder, please be courteous to everyone present in the virtual space. We're all here to have a good conversation about the different regions of Anne Arundel and all the good work that we're trying to do, us and the residents and our various committees and other departments to have a great shared vision for the future of our county. This is the agenda for today. You probably saw it when you registered. We are going to start by having a 30-minute brief presentation about the region plans. What are they? What is the process to create them? There's going to be some information regarding the basics of planning and the region plans themselves. Now Now, you will see also some information about the comprehensive zoning process, which is going to be tied to the drafting of these plans. And then finally, we wanted to share with you some of the community involvement steps we're taking, and also a specific tool, which is the feedback maps that went live not long ago and is still available to you to let us know spatially where some things that you want to let us know are. But we'll talk about that later. We have a demonstration about that. After these 30 minutes, we will have a Q&A session for an approximate time of 1 hour. We will see when we're going to join that, but we'll do our best to address all the questions that we can today live. And for the other ones, you will see our email addresses and phone numbers, and we'll be happy to get back to you later on if we don't have the answer right away, and we will go from there. Finally, we have some next steps and opportunities for involvement that we wanted to make you aware of before today's event ends. I do want to make you aware of the staff that we're present today. We have all hands on deck. You already met Christina. We also have Cindy Carrier, Long Range Planning Administrator. I'm Lorenzo, like I said. Hello, everyone. We also have Eric that has been working with Region 4, Desiree, Carrie, Jessica, and also joining us is Brian Ulrich, the Planning Division Administrator for the Office of Transportation. And at this point, I would like to pause my slide and have Cindy share a few words regarding the region plans process.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. Many of you are continuing to participate in our planning processes, and we greatly appreciate that. As Lorenzo said, I'm the planning administrator for the Long Range Planning Division, and I'm just going to kind of go through a little bit of history of how we got here. This idea of community-driven planning was first introduced in Anne Arundel County with the development of the 1997 General Development Plan, recognizing the unique character of Anne Arundel County's different communities. The 97 General Development Plan divided the county into 16 small planning areas and recommended that a separate, more detailed land use plan be completed for each. And the small area plans were developed consistent with the 97 General Development Plan between 1998 and 2004. Like Christina said, unfortunately, those plans were never updated. But in 2018, county legislation was passed that directed that the next General Development Plan designate no less than 7 small planning areas. So that next General Development Plan was Plan 2040. And throughout the work of Plan 2040, the Office of Planning and Zoning worked and engaged with countless residents through community-based meetings, full-day workshop, and the use of traditional methods that also utilized innovative public engagement methods, primarily due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Community involvement is the key to success of any long-term plan, and we're proud that with the thousands of voices that Plan 2040 represents, it was adopted by the County Council in May, as Christina mentioned, and was awarded the Maryland Sustainable Growth Award in December of 2021. This Growth Award is the highest level of recognition for well-planned economic and community development and sustainability in the state. So throughout the Plan 20 process, through the Plan 2040 process, a 21-member Citizens Advisory Committee recognized the limited county resources and drafted 9 region plan boundaries for community discussion. The boundaries were modified to reflect the public's comments. Plan 2040 not only set the boundaries of the regions, but also the implementation process and the schedule for the region plans. The Office of Planning and Zoning began pre-planning for the region plans after the adoption of Plan 2040 and held a kickoff of the stakeholder advisory committees in December of 2021. I know the long-range planning staff has been working hard with the assistance of the stakeholder advisory committees to define the challenges and opportunities in your communities. And we look forward to reaching another set of community-driven plans that will guide the future of communities within our regions. Thank you, and I will turn this back over to Lorenzo.
Thank you, Cindy. And the next thing wanted to do before we actually start getting in some of the details, more nerdy planning portions of our agenda, is we have an icebreaker about which region do you live or work in, and how did you hear about this community forum? We want to hear from you, see who is joining us today. You should see a poll question coming up on your screen, and you have a few seconds to answer, and then we'll see the results. Okay, we see the answers coming in. Already over half of you. I'm sorry, I'm commenting live. It's must be from too much sports watching. We're gonna end the poll. Almost all of you have answered now. It looks like you see Region 4 is winning today in terms of attendance. We have many of you from Region 4, and then still people from Region 2 and 7 are attending this forum, which is great, since today we're gonna be talking about this first set of round of plans that we're working on. So thanks for answering that poll for us, and let's get into the rest of the agenda. Starting with region plans, what are they and what is the process to create them? Plans are something very familiar to us working in planning. However, there's somehow intangible, and sometimes for a lot of people it is not extremely easy to understand what is actually the role that they have in our daily lives. And the first thing that it's important to understand is what is the relationship between planning plans and really the big plan that the county has adopted, Plan 2040, and these region plans that we're going to be discussing today. Planning is a mandated effort in every state in this country. Depending on which state you're in, you're required to maintain and update your general development plan or master plan every so often. In Maryland, we've done so in the county in 1997, and then again in 2009. And the general development plan that we adopted last year was divided into 4 main chapters. Most of you are probably familiar with it. It's actually divided into volume 1, which is the plan itself, that has a lot of the visionary details in terms of the goals and policies and strategies that the community as a whole decided to adopt, and for where we're going to be in 2040. How do we want Anne Arundel to look like? Now, the Plan 2040 is a policy document that is implemented by a lot of various tools that the county has in the toolbox. You can see now in the image, the general development plan is kind of central, but there are regional plans that we're discussing today that are an implementing tool to achieve a lot of the goals that are set in the general development plan. There is development and zoning regulations that affect the daily processing of land development. There are capital improvement projects and an overall county program that affects how our streets and our infrastructure works, and many other plans that are agency related, and some of them are not directly purview of the county, but have to do with other external actors that the county certainly speaks to, and we often include in our conversations, but we're not directly affecting some of the decision making that happens. And it is overall a work that we all do together with our partners. Now, how does that relate to the region plans themselves? Today, we're going to be talking about 2, 4, and 7, which are 3 of the 9 regions that were outlined in the GDP that was adopted last year. Those regions were probably previously known as small areas. We had many of them. Definitely, we were 16 small area plans that were adopted previously. With the new GDP, a lot of the communities were grouped in areas that to facilitate the alignment with other initiatives and programs. And this is the map that was adopted with Plan 2040, and the work that OPZ began doing is really related and pretty much geographically distinct amongst these different areas that we see on the slide. Through these region plans, what is going to happen is that there's going to be an evaluation of community assets, the needs, to provide a shared vision for the future, which is more specific to the different neighborhoods, which are certainly diverse, moving from the peninsulas to areas closer to MARC stations, or down south near communities like Deal and Churchton. So two of the key points really of these region plans are the opportunities that are going to be specific neighborhood by neighborhood and intersection by intersection to actually bring positive change and improvements to the physical development of our community. And another big thing to know is that we always work with our sister agencies and departments through the master planning efforts. We did so certainly with Plan 2040, but at the regional plans level, we're going to be really going more deep into the plan land use questions and answers that we will find as a community. And the same for zoning in terms of zoning districts and comprehensive zoning for regions as a whole, which is something that typically works better than piecemeal or certain changes in land development that happen slower and more organically, but that are spurred by in individual settings, property by property. Now, one thing in terms of timelines that we want you to be aware of is that, yes, today we will be talking about specifically regions 2, 4, and 7. But obviously, we have already queued up. We began having target dates for starting work on regions 1, 3, and 9, which is going to be the next round, starting tentatively in December 2022. And then again, in 2024, we'll be working at regions 5, 6, and 8. This is how the process and timeline for each specific region plan is thought. You can see that red marking there, where the community forum of April 20, 2022. So we're a little over, almost at the end of of phase 2 before we actually get into the plan preparation and drafting. But if we start from the beginning there on the left of the slide, we did start plan initiation with a kickoff in December 11th of 2021. There was a lot of background research that was done even during the drafting of Plan 2040. And then we began having the stakeholder advisory committees actually begin their work in various meetings, which are actually we're always promoting through our mailing list, and you can access them and contact your SAC members. And then we'll now move into the plan preparation before these region plans are each adopted by the county council after receiving a recommendation of the planning advisory board. And I want to stress out what we have written down there at the bottom of that slide, that the engagement and communication with all of you is continuous through this entire process. And from starting prior to the plan initiation, and we'll go on until the adoption with county council. And feel free to always reach any of us that you see on this call if there is any question or comment that you want to give on the plan. Now, we want to give you some details about the comprehensive zoning process, which is something that we always get asked about. It's one of the most important topics that many people would like to ask us about, because it does affect the property rights of every property owner in the county and people that live and work here. However, before we get into the planned land use map and zoning, I wanted to just show some facts about planning, land use and zoning history and context in the county. Today, we're all very fixated on the zoning district of a specific parcel. Is it commercial 2? Is it residential 22? But planning and zoning has a deep history in this state and on this land. We're just giving a very, very high overview here on this slide. You can go through the bullet points. Some may interest you more than others. The one that you see on the map that's an early plan of Annapolis that was planned by one of our first governors after the English Civil War, and laid out the initial plans for certain streets and squares. Zoning then was formalized really in the 20s by the U.S. Supreme Court, giving a specific type of police power to local governments to be able to divide plots of land according to their use, to make sure that there was not any noxious use of the land that could alter property rights negatively of the neighbors. And we also have some very particular piece of history today in the county with what you may know is a very important piece of development, which is the Arundel Mall in Glen Burnie, which is the second modern type mall and that was developed in the United States. And think about how much that influenced development, and not just in the country, but in the entire world, that type of development. In the county in the 70s, we saw a lot of growth in growth of local and state planning. But really in the 90s and 2000s, one thing we started being prompted on, just as a nation and a world, but also by the state, is the smart growth. And there's probably a whole set of seminars for that should be given. But I just wanted to mention some of the major milestones through planning history. And that is because it is important to understand what does that mean when you translate that into today planned land use and zoning in the county. I'm gonna throw it out there for anyone to type in the chat. If do you know what is the difference between planned land use and zoning? And feel free to answer, and then we'll see if you know how many people actually understand the fine grain or the realize what is the big difference between them. Now on the left side you see the planned land use map, which for Anne Arundel. And one of the big differences is that when you're talking about planned land use, you're really discussing something that is dictated in the general development plan, and it gives the general sense of what how will land be used in the future in terms of use. So the categories that we have in terms of planned land use are very much generalized in terms of just commercial or industrial land. However, the difference between planned land use and zoning, although those maps look fairly similar in terms of colors and hues, is that the zoning really dictates the bulk and scale and development regulations, and the zoning is has to be consistent with the planned land use that land is planned for. So in terms of hierarchy, if you can think about it this way, it's the general development plan, the planned land use is the base and source for the zoning that really is assigned to a specific tract of land, and that dictates how that land can be developed. And another way of looking at this is just comparing some of the tables that we have that give you the information of relationship between the two. We only have 15 planned land uses, but over 30 zoning districts. And again, the land use provides the framework for the zoning district assignment, and the zoning must be compatible with the planned land use and the land use map. On the right, you see here, this is a table from Plan 2040 that describes what Plan 2040 land use designations are actually compatible with the various zoning districts that are adopted by ordinances by county council, and they have different outcomes when it comes to then the development of the land. And another thing I want to bring up is that the general development plan and planned land use, but also the zoning districts, are not the only things that actually affect how land is developed over time. There are many manuals, review processes, and resource protection articles of our codes that actually end up impacting a lot how a project looks like after it's developed. And this is an example. This is the same use. This is a commercial use. It's the same exact type of establishment, but the way that land is developed is very different. And to bring up early, one of the questions and comments we received in the past is, this is exactly the same use and of the land and the same establishment, but is there a difference between one and the other? And which one would you prefer having in your neighborhood, and why? Those are some things that I think are useful to think about when discussing and just talking as a community regarding how land is developed, that the colors on the map are not the only things, or perhaps the most important ones, that as a community can actually dictate the direction we're going for. And we all here want to move in the right direction with the county. Finally, speaking of comprehensive zoning and milestones that we have, this slide actually outlines the 8 steps that Office of Planning and Zoning is going to undertake to actually adopt a comprehensive zoning map for each of the 3 regions. We already started step 1, which is soliciting the public input on assets and challenges. You're going to see an example of the one of the tools that we're using for that, which is the feedback map. But really, step 2 is what we're getting into shortly, which is going to be conducting a technical analysis to actually review all of the current zoning in regions 2, 4, and 7, and then see if any modifications could be proposed for the entirety of the region. I do want to point out that all these processes are they're gonna, as you can see, the step 8. This is a long process that is gonna end towards the end of this year. There's gonna be plenty of opportunity for any property owner, any neighbor, to tell us what they think the current zoning districts give in terms of adding value to a neighborhood, or what problems there may be in a different neighborhood. And each property owner is going to have also, as you can see in step 4, the possibility to actually apply, petition themselves for a certain change that they think is warranted. And ultimately, the stakeholder advisory committees will review and make a recommendation on a map that will be presented. The public is going to have time to review publicly the maps for the zoning for an entire region, and then the planning advisory board and the city council will review it until adoption will happen during a public hearing. I know there will be questions regarding the comp zoning process because it is a complicated process. But we'll get to that during the Q&A. Now I would like to actually call Eric to give us some information regarding the community involvement and the feedback maps.
Thanks, Lorenzo. Well, hey, everybody. As Lorenzo said, my name is Eric Ketterling. I'm a senior planner. I'm working on the Region 4 plan. So great to meet you all virtually if you haven't met me yet. So as Lorenzo said, the community involvement, this is very important for the process of this plan. These plans, you know, they're for the community. They're not just for one group of people or the county plan. This is for the community, 2, 4, and 7 specifically in this time frame. So it's very important and key that we all get out there and really get involved as much as possible. And what we're doing as county staff is we're creating these different opportunities for input. As you guys may have been able to experience already, we posted a questionnaire from December through the beginning of this year, and we have a few of those responses that we'll show here in a moment. But we use that a lot to really kind of help understand what we've heard so far, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. We're doing different in-person and virtual events. As Lorenzo mentioned a minute ago, we have a feedback map, and we have a different in each of the region libraries. There's also a physical copy there. We also have different events coming up in the next few months that we'll be sure to advertise and let everybody know. One really important thing that I would recommend doing is, if you haven't already, sign up for the community newsletters that we send out every month. And you can find that through our website at aacounty.org/regionplans. Our stakeholder advisory committees, each month from here on out, we're doing different topical meetings. So for example, for the month of April, we're going to be discussing the economy and public facilities. In May, we'll talk about transportation. And we'll have different meetings for the future. And that's really an opportunity for you to learn more about what the county is doing, as well as being able to listen in and see how these discussions with the stakeholder advisory committees go. Again, another very important thing to continue to do is look at the region plan hub sites. This is where we're going to update. We're going to provide all the information for future meetings, previous meetings. And so if you haven't been able to attend any SAC events, or if you want to see meetings like this after they've occurred, they will be placed on the hub site for you to review and watch at your leisure. And then, as I mentioned again, we currently have feedback maps. They are located on the hub site where you're able to really provide input and show us your opinions and ideas about your region. And we'll get to that in a few minutes as well. So as we mentioned a minute ago, we've had different, we had a questionnaire started in December, and it's ran through the beginning of this year. And kind of what we've heard so far really aligns with what's kind of been reflected in Plan 2040. So what we heard so far is community members, really want safer, greener places to live with more public amenities. They want to be able to move around easily with less traffic. So these are just some kind of really introductory points that we've heard so far, and we're continuing listening throughout this entire process. So please continue to let us know your ideas, your concerns, anything that you really think we should know. Please send us emails, talk to your stakeholder advisory committee members, and just really stay involved. Here are some more things we've heard so far from the three regions. Again, concerned about safety. They want to be more opportunities for recreational opportunities, be closer to friends and family, and really kind of talk about some environmental concerns as well. So really, we've heard a wide range of different topics. And so this is a word cloud that we've taken directly from the survey for Region 4. Now, even though it's Region 4 specific, it's very similar to the other two regions as well. And this word cloud came from the responses to the question asking how to describe your community and how do you like to spend your time. So what you can see is, a lot of people say walking, the shopping, they work, where you live, your family, different activities, So there's a whole
Sorry,
as we move forward with these different topical SAC meetings, we're going to use these ideas that we've heard so far and that we're continuing to hear to really kind of help guide the conversation. And so it's very important that you provide your input throughout this process. And what's on the screen now is the example of the feedback map. So here you're really able to demonstrate what's important to you, and you can put a point where you dream it, love it, or fix it. And I'll let Lorenzo kind of take over from here to kind of help show exactly what you can, how you can work it a little bit easier.
Yes, Eric, thank you. I just clicked on the button that is the link to the community hub. Can you, Jessica, can you see the Welcome to Community Hub page? Yes, everyone. So if you go to the hub and navigate to the region you're interested in for comments on the map, you gotta actually click on Region 2 feedback map, and you're gonna be able to automatically reach that page, and you can see the instructions for how to operate the feedback map are here. You can comment. To comment, you gotta click on the comment tab below and then submit the comment button. But I'm gonna very briefly demonstrate how that works. Everything is organized around 3 tags. Hashtag love it for existing community assets. hashtag fix it for challenges that need to be addressed, or hashtag dream it for ideas for future assets. And what I really encourage you to do is to actually click on this button to have a full screen version of the map, because it's a little easier to operate, and you're going to see it larger on your screen when you're doing so on your own time. But you're going to see the feedback map for the region open up. And up on the top left corner is going to be a menu with an about and a comment button where you can click, and then the map is going to load and show you what the tools at your disposal are. Just after a few seconds. The things you're going to be able to see are there is a zoom button on the left side. So if you want to have a better view of the area to orient yourself, you can zoom out. All the region 2, as you can see, already had a lot of comments that you all left for us. If you click on them, you can see what the comment was. This one, represented by a green circle, is a hashtag love it comment submitted on March 4th. And it says, great hiking trails, bird watching, and natural area. And this is here for the area around the wildlife loop, the little Patuxent River. If you do want to leave your own comment, what you can do is, again, you get to the right size map. You can click again on the comment button to actually have the buttons pop up. And here on the right side, on the bottom right corner of your screen, you can click on comment. And then here you're going to be able to place or address or click somewhere. I'm just going to click to add a point, for example, down here in the map. Select the feedback type, which in this case is dream it. And I could type a test, for example, a beautiful trailhead and within the park. You can put your name, and if you want, your email. And at this point, you could add a photo and then add your comment this way. So this is a demonstration of the feedback map. I'm gonna stop sharing this screen real quick so I can navigate back to our presentation. But that is a very helpful tool, and I think some of the comments that we received already and the questions, they can be directly addressed through the feedback map. We keep monitoring that continuously, and that is something that we're definitely going to take into consideration when drafting the plans themselves for different areas. And at this point, I'm sharing again our presentation because it is time to begin. Actually, we're a few minutes over, but it's time for our Q&A session. And before we start that, please note that the purpose of this Q&A is really for residents and stakeholders to communicate to us any thoughts or questions that they feel are relevant to the drafting of the region plans. In the interest of everyone attending, please keep courtesy in mind towards anyone involved in the conversation, and please try to limit yourself to a 2-minute at a time comment. We will begin now. Jessica is going to begin calling people in turns for speak. The ones of you that requested to be able to speak through the registration, and we'll address other relevant questions typed in the chat after that. We also have Carrie at this time that is going to be writing down for us some of the things we're going to be hearing today from you.
Okay, and if we are ready to start with comments from the public, the first person who registered to speak was Julia House. Julia, I am not seeing your name on our attendees, so if you could raise your hand, that'd be great. I'll give you about a minute if you're here, or a few more seconds, sorry. After that, it looks like we have John Corin. All right, so not seeing Julia House, I'm going to go ahead and let John Corin speak, and you have 2 minutes. Oh, no. 1 second. Oh. All right, John, can you speak?
Yep. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can. 1 second so
Okay.
I can set up our timer, and you can go.
Okay, great. Yeah, mainly I wanted to let everyone know that while all the region plans are going on, we also are working on the strategic plan for biking and walking in Anne Arundel County called Walk and Roll Anne Arundel. And this public comment is open right now. It's open through May 27th. And I would encourage all of you, in addition to providing input on these region plans, also go to the Walk and Roll site. And I will post it in the chat so that everyone's got the link. It also has an interactive map where you can, identify places that you consider dangerous for biking and walking, where you think a new trail is needed or a new sidewalk to a school, and so forth. It's very, very important that we dovetail our land use plans and our transportation plans. We all know we have a history of development getting way out ahead of transportation infrastructure, and we need to do a better job of dovetailing them. So let's all work the region plans, which are very much focused on land use, focused on infrastructure too, but let's also make this a more bikeable, walkable community. That is the best way to reduce traffic and protect our environment. We cannot pave our way out of traffic congestion. So those are my comments, and thanks for running this forum.
Thank you, John. Thank you for those comments. And yes, visit aacounty.org/walkroll to know more about the plan.
All right, and so the next person registered to speak was Thomas Ripley, and then after that is Blake Wilson. Thomas Ripley, I'm not seeing your name in our attendees, so if you're here under a different name, please raise your hand. Otherwise, we'll move on to Blake Wilson. And just so that people can know if they're on deck, after Blake, we'll hear from Paul Spadaro if you're here. So I am seeing Blake Wilson here, so I'm gonna now allow you to speak. All right, can you talk, Blake?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
Yes,
Whenever you're
well,
ready.
thank you very much for making this available to us. I'm a resident of the Patapsco Boating and Social Association, a little hamlet of 25 homes that is located on Rock Creek in Pasadena. And it was founded in 1893 by German immigrants who came out by ferry boat from downtown Baltimore, and they found it an oasis to be away from the heat of the Baltimore summers. And they came out there for years, and over time, what were then platform, tent houses were replaced by cottages. And my wife's family goes back, her great-grandfather was one of the early settlers of this little hamlet back when there wasn't much else around. So it's an interesting little place and a lovely spot. We've been coming there since the 1970s. We became aware of an issue that has a much broader application than that near us. There is a boatyard, a marina right adjacent to our community that's been there since late 1940s. It's been a non-conforming use in a residential, back then agricultural, and then eventually residential zone since 1952. And under this plan, they're going to be upgraded in zoning to whatever appropriate maritime zoning you all deem appropriate. But we've become alarmed to notice that all three commercial maritime zoning classifications within the county code provide for bars, restaurants, banquet halls, and hotels, which are big industrial type buildings. This marina and most of the others that are in non-conforming uses in our county are in residential areas. I mean, completely surrounded by residential areas. And the county produced a document in 2018, which provides a listing of all these. So there are over 20. And most are in Region 4, some are in Region 7, and some are scattered in the others. So we think this is a broad enough issue that as you all consider new zoning classifications for these properties, we hope you'll consider adding yet another zoning classification to be applied in these kind of situations. Because I cannot imagine in any good planning that there would be a bar, a restaurant, a large industrial building, or a banquet hall placed in the middle of any other residential neighborhood in Anne Arundel County. I can't imagine that would be considered good planning. And I have to wonder how in the name of Sam Hill could this be the process for a marina, just because it's a marina. It's in a residential zone. So I think it's
Thank you, Blake.
addressing on a broader point of view, and we're going to stay involved in the process and interested in the broad issues as well. And we very much appreciate this chance to share this with you. I've sent written comments to all of our committee members and to Eric, and we'll stay involved in the process. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming, Blake. Christina, would you like to respond to Blake's comment?
Well, Mr. Wilson said there at the end that he had sent comments into Eric. I just want to make sure we have the address of this marina so we can look at it in more detail. Do you have that, Mr. Wilson?
Oh, one moment, please.
Oh, is he on mute?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I can give him permission again. Looks like.
I'm happy to give you that. It's just that, I'm interested more in the broad sense.
I understand that, but we'd like to start to look at one example, and then we know that there are others out there.
Okay. I just don't want to pick on these guys. They're good guys, Hang on just a second.
Maybe you can email that to Eric since you're already in contact with him.
I think Eric's got it, but I'll do it.
That's fine.
Like I say, we have no issue with the fellows that are running this marina or with the marina. Just we hope that they'll consider broadly a different zone when that's applied. So.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the time.
All right. So like I said, Paul Spadaro is next, and then on deck is Amy Leahy. So Paul, if you're still here, let me change your permissions. One moment. Okay. Yeah. All right. And Paul, are you with us?
I hope so.
Okay.
All right. I don't have any video, but I am here, and I'll talk for about 2 minutes. I hope, if you get the timer going.
Yep.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So my name is Paul Spadaro. I'm president of the Magathy River Association. Many of you know who I am. I've been president for more than 25 years. I'm the de facto river keeper. I've watched the health of the Magathy decline over recent decades. I've watched the traffic on Mountain Road, College Parkway, and Route 2 increase beyond belief. And I've experienced our quality of life decreasing. These things are just happening year after year. We're engaged today in a discussion about future growth. And I think we need to take an opportunity to rethink our plans. Our current policies are designed to protect our quality of life and health of the rivers are not working. At some point, even the best hotel needs to have the no vacancy sign put out. And Region 4 is one of those hotels that need to have that sign put out. Most of the buildable land has already been built. The remaining land are the problem pieces of land, the ones with steep slopes. Mount Misery is a perfect example of that, or wetlands. We need to rethink as you sit back in your offices about zoning. Just because the land is zoned for 5 homes per acre doesn't mean the topography can hold 5 homes per acre. And I think we really have to focus on that point as we move forward with any kind of comprehensive plan. It must be based on topography. It should not be based on a piece of paper in some office saying you need to have 5 homes or 2 homes or this being commercial. These plans are not working. I think the future, our grandkids and the future of this area depend on some people in planning and zoning doing a better job. And I welcome, I'm willing to work with you on some of these points, but we need to change how we're doing it. And thank you for your time.
Paul, thank you for your comment. And it is a good comment. We have concerns as well regarding our environment. We have an entire chapter of the GDP dedicated to it that speaks to what we can do. Now, in terms of specific development regulations regarding the use of the land and how it relates to zoning, Cindy, would you want to address some of the relationship between, for example, the topography or and zoning and how development is allowed today?
Sure. So, with the zoning regulations, that, tells you what you can do on a property, but that's only part of the story. We also have a development code that has requirements that must be met. We have requirements regarding natural features, protection of those features, protection of steep slopes, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not just the zoning that says what you can and can't do on your property. It's also our development code. And, we have done estimates in the past. So I think, Paul, as you pointed out, like R5 is generally a one home for 5 acres. We don't yield that in the county. We get something quite less, and it's because of the environmental regulations that are out there, along with the other things that are required, such as stormwater management, roads, etc.
Thank you, Cindy.
All
Jessica,
right.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Next up, we have Amy Leahy. And then after Amy, we're going to have Sarah Neild on deck. So Sarah, if you want to prepare your notes. Amy, as long as you can unmute, the floor is yours. Amy, are you with us? Or do you have any comments you want to share?
Sorry, I thought you were going to unmute me.
Sorry.
Anyway, okay. Anyway, I just wanted to, I have a couple of things. I served on the Citizens Advisory Committee as somebody who I thought at the time was representing Region 4, but I didn't realize that they were actually going to be doing something additional after that. But anyway, that being said, I was interested that Lorenzo actually brought up the difference between land use and the zoning, because unfortunately, after all this time, am still very confused about how those two are separate and how they might go hand in hand. I note that the county is putting forward legislation. I think probably Councilman Pruski recently introduced legislation that would impact the zoning in the Fort Meade area to make it more higher density. And I guess I'm just a little confused because I thought that this kind of thing was not going to happen until after we had actually been through the Stakeholder Advisory Committee and getting all of this comprehensive rezoning actually made part of the county code along with the general development plan. So I guess my my comments are that it seems like we're moving ahead with rezoning even though we're not supposed to be. Big question mark there. The other thing, you know, Paul brought up this issue of the R5s and, you know, whether you get actually 5 houses per 1 acre. One of the issues that we've had over, I guess, the past 10 or 15 years has been the cluster zoning, which has occurred in this county. We've been trying to work with our county council to get this cluster zoning really reined in and tightened up in terms of what modifications are allowed, what the cluster zoning is really supposed to do, which is to preserve the environmental areas that may be impacted by development, and that just doesn't seem to be happening the way the cluster zoning has been utilized in the past. Now, I recognize that the current county administration has not been moving forward with this as much as the previous administration, and I do appreciate that. But we really would like to have some cluster zoning regulations that are more solid and concrete that become part of the county code. So I guess that ends my comments. Thank you very much for having this meeting.
Thank you, Amy. I appreciate your comments. And those are, you know, important things to discuss, both the relationship between the land use and the zoning, and also, you know, the specificity of some of the regulations that we have. You know, for example, cluster zoning is something that is utilized all across the country. And what is the detail of it, however, and then it depends by the specific ordinance that can be modified through the ordinance process, or but today, as it is written, you know, we will definitely take a good look and see what is working and what can be improved. Is there any additional
Yeah,
comment?
Lorenzo. Yeah, I'll add a little bit to that. Revising the cluster regulations is part of Plan 2040, so hopefully we'll get there with something that everyone can support. And you know, as far as legislation that is submitted, you know, by the council, that's their prerogative. We don't, you know, that's what they do. That doesn't mean we support all of it, and we certainly prefer that you know, legislation is consistent with our planning processes. And so any of, you know, I would encourage any of you, if there's legislation that comes forward in the future that you don't agree with, that you don't think is consistent, that you know, testify at council on, you know, your concerns.
Yeah, I'd actually like to make a couple comments following up on what Cindy said. You know, at the very end of my opening remarks, I strongly encouraged everyone to keep with this process all the way through the end as we get into recommendations from the Planning Advisory Board, and then everything moves on to County Council for adoption. For those of you that followed the Plan 2040 adoption at Council, you'll know that over 120 amendments were submitted to Plan 2040, which was, I mean, a very significant number of amendments. And so we do need people to stay involved right through the very end with us to ensure the integrity of the plans that we're putting forward. And Cindy is right. I mean, the council is independent of the administration, and they can rezone, they can make zoning text amendment changes anytime they want. Those are legal changes that are made to county ordinances. But again, stay involved in the process when you see bills coming along that either you agree with or you don't agree with. Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy and Christina, for that
Uh,
insight. Yes, Jessica.
Next up, we have Sarah Neild, and then Pastor Arcand, you're on deck if you would like to share some words. So Sarah, you're up.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So thank you. Just keeping this as a general comment, I would like to thank OPZ for the ongoing discussion regarding the region plans. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. So basically for our clients, we're just looking for ongoing clarification and opportunities regarding rezoning on properties. So just as clear as that can be, and looking forward to continuing the region plan process. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
All right, and Pastor Arcand, you are up. After that will be Earl Bradley.
All right, can you hear me okay here? I just, Pastor Arcand, Lighthouse Baptist Church at 195 Ritchie Highway. And it's come to my attention that this corridor here, Ritchie Highway, we're up near the Early Heights Fire Department. There's a lot of like small businesses that are in the residential zoning, but that corridor there for Ritchie Highway is really not good for residential. And but there's also, you know, people are concerned about it being turned to, you know, commercial and becoming some kind of a, you know, car lots and all of that, which I totally understand. But we need to try to come up with some kind of a small business type zoning, something that these vital, you know, businesses and, you know, and then I would say, you know, I guess my church is in the middle of all of that, but that we could kind of bridge the two, that we not, you know, ruin the community, so to speak, you know, by blacktopping everything, but at the same time allowing these businesses to operate and maybe even, you know, beautify the area, because again, actually they have property that coincides with what they're doing as a business. So I don't know if we can kind of get that identified and become clear in some kind of a, maybe a small business kind of a zoning, a bridge between residential and, you know, full commercial. But I just like to put that out there. If there's something that we could work on and, you know, that could, you know, kind of make both groups of people happy and build a better, you know, community. That's it. I'm no expert.
Thank you, Pastor. That was a great comment. And I think, you know, it may be somewhat related to the picture that we're showing earlier about, you know, the Target store that looks a very different way in a suburban context or a more urban one like town center. There is a way to have businesses actually be scaled to the residential neighborhoods. And we do have in our county code a small business ordinance that is part of it. And Cindy, would you be able to give a little more details on that perhaps, or how that could work, especially along certain corridors? Or how does that apply, or anything regarding what the pastor said that I didn't already touch on?
Okay, so there's a small business zoning district. And I'm not, you know, we haven't really seen it successful in this county. That's one thing that we wanted to study. As part of one of the strategies in Plan 2040 was, you know, is this something that needs improvement, or, you know, or revise somehow to make it better. But yeah, there's certain requirements within the code for allowing small businesses to continue. They look like residential, but they have some allowances for commercial uses.
Thank you. And yeah, Jessica, whenever.
Thank you. We have two Earl Bradleys on the line. So if the Earl Bradley who has comments or questions would like to raise their hand, I'll allow you to speak. Next up after Earl will be Gary Mahler. So I'll give Earl another second to try and raise their hand. All right. Well, Earl, we'll come back to you in a minute. If you figure out how to raise your hand on the one you would like to speak, we'll move on to Gary for now. All right. Floor is yours, Gary.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I've enjoyed listening to the comments. I especially like Paul. I don't know how to say the last name, Spadero. No vacancy. I think I'm going to make a T-shirt up says citizen planner, and then underneath that, no vacancy, and wear it to the county council meetings. I am very concerned, and a lot of us in the Growth Action Network and other organizations, Jessup Improvement Association, we've been talking and trying to understand how the bill 3122 that Andrew Pruski and Sarah Lacey are pushing right now, along with the county executive office and OPZ, are all pushing a bill that's going to take Region 2 and a 4-mile radius. So that would include Severn, Region 3 and 5, and basically change life forever through high density zoning. Region 2, I don't know what the Stakeholder Advisory Committee, Region 2 planning, I don't even know what they would do at this point if that bill was passed, because that bill kind of dictates what's going to happen in that area. It's also going to spill over heavily into Pawnee Orchard. Those people were kind of left in the dark right now. We're trying to get them informed. Severn's also going to be affected through just massive, unbelievable amount of traffic. We have a bottleneck up there. The county officials will tell you, we've got a plan for traffic. State Highway is meeting tomorrow with us to talk about an intersection of the Parkway and 175. They're gonna make all these improvements, but what they don't tell you is that the Parkway, half of it's under control of the DC parks, and they're not allowing any improvement. The state of Maryland's already done some improvement to the north, but that road turns into a parking lot pretty much any given time of the day. Further west, you have 95. That's a parking lot. You got 32. You got 97. So the area is pretty well saturated. R15, as proposed in Bill 3122, would basically end life in West County, and West County should probably now be named the city of West County, because it's going to be a density that I have noticed just driving through Baltimore. It's going to be a higher density than Baltimore. The quality of life has gone down. The crime has increased. The people, when they walk out their front door now in our 15 developments, they look directly into their neighbor across a storm drain. There is no way. There's about a 4x8 piece of grass for outdoor activities. That's it. And so I really think Paul's statement of no vacancy is the attitude. We need to stop doing our land use planning based on profits for developers and commercial enterprises, and start thinking what is good for the people of Anne Arundel County, and try to make this place a much better place to live.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you for your comments. That's obviously something that we we all want, again, us as planners working for the county, we strive to live in neighborhoods that are livable for our residents, but for ourselves as well. And that is what we try to do every day. Christina or Cindy, do you have any other specific questions, or there's something that we did not answers that, or comments that we did not touch on already on regarding any of the initiatives? Or
I just think that it's important that if, you know, as residents or stakeholders, you have strong feelings about bills that are being introduced by the council, that you go to those public hearings and you testify. The county council has a web page. You can get, you know, visit the agendas. You can sign up to testify. You can send in written testimony ahead of time. So I encourage you to get involved where the decision is getting made. And I'll leave it there on legislation.
Thank you, Christina.
Okay, so like I said, Earl Bradley, you're up, but I'm not seeing, there are two of you in our attendees and I want to be able to promote the right one. So if you could raise your hand to show us the correct one to promote to talk, that'd be great. Next up would be Nazir B. So Nazir, get your notes ready. Okay, perfect. Earl, you're up. Whenever you're ready, Earl. Earl, are you with us?
I know. I guess I am.
All right, we can hear you, but there's a little bit of feedback.
Yeah. Can you hear me? There seem to be some.
We can hear you. There's just a little bit of feedback. Is the other you on the line? Would that one be a better one to allow to speak or to have speak?
Yeah, well, how? I guess I have a problem with feedback.
Or if we're still getting some feedback, if you do have access to a chat function, we may be able to read your question there if you want to type it.
All right.
Okay. We'll read your question from the chat in just a few minutes. In the meantime, let's move on to Nazir B. All right, Nazir, whenever you get a chance, go ahead and unmute yourself.
What I wanted to sort of say that is that the county has got to be commended for concentrating development and density where it is needed in certain areas and preserving the benefits of parks and natural areas, and and having low density there. We also got to realize that that where part of the region 2 also encompasses Maryland Live Casino, which competes with MGM. The Arundel Mills Mall is a very strong regional mall. Coming out of COVID, it competes with other regional malls, and BWI, the airport itself, also competes with the other two airports in the Washington, D.C. area. Jobs and taxes are also very important. So I think having a good plan for mixed-use development that concentrates development in these hubs and leaves the rest of the county to sort of preserve the life for citizens to enjoy is balances that out. So it should be so I think we got to encourage that rather than sort of just willy-nilly be against development everywhere. Yeah, that's what I wanted to sort of impress upon the group. Hello?
Thank you for that, Nazir. That is a great comment. I think that is the smart word and smart growth that, like we were discussing earlier, we have been talking about in the state for past almost 30 years now, and it is ultimately a matter of maximizing land potential for not in terms of just individual gains maximization, but as a community, the infrastructure that it takes to service a certain amount of commercial properties or residences is expensive for us taxpayers too in the county. And if we can manage to actually allocate the exact amount of infrastructure or services that are needed to certain properties where more is needed, that is a good way of actually planning for in a smart way.
And, yeah, and to follow up, I think, therefore, public transportation is very important to go hand in hand with the development plan.
Thank you.
All right, so as a reminder, Earl, we look forward to reading your comment or question from the chat once you get a minute to pop it in there. In the meantime, I have John Norville as next, and then Mary V, you're on deck, so get your notes ready. And John, let me allow you to talk. All right, so John Norville, the floor is yours. All right, John, do you have a comment or question you want to share with us? Go ahead and unmute and share it.
I did not request a comment.
Oh, I apologize. So sorry
I
about
am
that.
concentrating. However, since I'm on, our area is concerned about growth and density, and generally the greater Savannah Park area seems to be generally full. So I hope that is considered, that a lot of opinion of a lot of residences and organized community is high density growth, 15-story buildings possible, mixed use, cluster development, as Amy so well put it. So for the overall impact of growth and concentration in our nice community is a concern. And thank you for the opportunity. And thank you for the excellent presentations today. That's all.
Thank you, John. Thanks for your comment. I appreciate you being here.
All right. Next up on our list, we had Mary V. So Mary, and then on deck will be Stephen Hyatt. So Mary, if you have a comment or question, feel free to unmute.
I wrote my comments in when I put it in there, so I didn't request to make comments here.
Okay.
I wrote mine in when I sent them in. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
And Jessica, let me take a second to say thank you to all of you that submitted a comment or a question ahead of time. We have been looking at those comments and questions, and we will get back to you individually. We have your contact in case of a specific thing you asked us about. We didn't get to that now during the live Q&A, but we are doing that. So thanks for providing us with that those comments when you registered. And we can move on to the next comment. Was it Stephen, Jessica?
Yeah, Stephen, you're on deck. Earl was able to submit his question or comment via the chat. So it says, I would like to know whether the provision of social services will be addressed in the region plans including environmental justice and equity concerns.
Okay. Eric, do you want to perhaps touch on the various chapters once again, the kind of like how the topics are going to be addressed during the drafting of these plans, or anything regarding some of these services or provision?
Yeah, so essentially each month from here to the end of the year, we're going to be discussing different topics. As I mentioned earlier, April is going to be the public facilities and the economy. May and the early part of June is going to be transportation. And then we're going to go into, I believe, in the environment, and we're going and then we'll have mixed use, public health, a wide range of different topics will be discussed throughout. And during each of these topics, we'll have the county departments who really deal with this as their day-to-day work come in and present and provide different information and different data as it's related to the specific regions. And in these meetings, there will be discussion, and the SAC will have an opportunity to work together to help provide recommendations for the final draft plan. And these recommendations will hopefully include and will address certain situations and needs that may not have been addressed through Plan 2040 or the work that's ongoing throughout the county.
Thanks, Eric. And yes, again, we'll remind you once again about the Region Plans Hub and all the ways you can get involved and stay involved regarding the different topics that are going to be discussed, just for, to gather background information, but also for you to be included in the visioning process. And that is going to be an effort that will last for several months. And it's going to be topic oriented, like Eric just said. More later on. And this is just a public service announcement. We are now hitting the 1 hour 30 minutes during our event. Jessica, do we have anybody lined up? And was the question earlier from Gary? Was he the one able to write it in the chat, type it in the chat, or did he actually do that after that?
Yes, so the last question I read off about equity concerns and environmental justice was from Earl, who was having some trouble with feedback earlier. So we did hear from Earl. Okay. Next on my list is Stephen Hyatt. If you have a comment and want to speak, let me get to you. And then on deck, we have Austin Hawley. All right. So Stephen, whenever you're ready, Stephen.
Great, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, thank you, everybody, OPZ staff, for your continued efforts here throughout this enduring and lengthy process. Very involved, and appreciate everything you've all done up to now and will continue to do. I have two questions for you. One, will OPZ staff be revisiting the previously submitted LUCAs, the land use change applications that included comments from your office requesting additional stakeholder input before the requested change would be considered, or will new LUCAs be required as part of the region planning process? And then my second question is, assuming that there will be additional land use changes either coming out of the Office of Planning and Zoning or additional applications, how will property owners whose property is subject to a proposed land use change be notified? Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
You want me to take that?
Yes, Christina, please.
Mr. Hyatt, we recognize that there are a lot of LUCA I think I got muted. Did I get muted in there? I'm going to start over. Mr. Hyatt, we recognize that there were a number of LUCAs that staff had recommended wait until the region plan processes for evaluation. We know that we have to go back and revisit all of those. I'm not sure that we have decided whether or not we will need new applications, but I wouldn't want to eliminate the opportunity for additional information to be submitted. And the reason for that is the LUCA applications that we have on file date back to 2020, and we're now in 2022. So there can be additional information on a property that is salient to staff review of those applications. So we will take that all into consideration as we are preparing the LUCA analysis. Mr. Hyatt, can you just repeat your second question?
Sure. The second question was, assuming that there will be additional land use changes as part of the planning process, the regional planning process, how will property owners be notified if their property is subject to one of these proposed land use changes?
Well, property owners are going to be notified. Any regulatory change, OPZ does send out typically letters, and we do anticipate that there will be online processes for taking comments, potentially similar to what we did with the land use map for Plan 2040, but I can see that there's an opportunity to evolve that. But anytime that there's a change in land use or zoning, we will notify property owners. Does that
Great,
answer your
thank you.
question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. And the last person that I have as registered to speak is Betsy Hampton. So Betsy, if you'd like to speak, go ahead and unmute. All right, Betsy, if you have any comments or questions, go ahead and unmute. Okay, Betsy did not want to speak. So with that, it looks like I've gotten through my list of everyone who pre-registered as being interested in speaking.
Jessica, I'm going through the attendees list and I see that there are some people that already spoke and have their raised hand, but did we hear from, oh, Betsy would just try to speak. I think we went through the entire list.
The only person is Connor Curran, who now has a raised hand.
Perhaps we can hear from Connor if is able to unmute.
All right, Connor, the floor is yours.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. I just want to thank all of you at the Office of Planning and Zoning for being here today and holding this forum. I chair the Youth Advisory Council, which gives youth perspectives to different county agencies and such. And we're really excited to be able to participate in this forum. Something that I believe John said at the beginning was the walk and roll. I don't really want to say rock and roll because it just goes up the tongue, but that is something that is huge to a lot of young people, is the walking accessibility of our county. I live in Region 4 at the end of the Fort Smallwood Peninsula, and you can forget about walking really to anywhere because it's not safe. There are not a lot of crosswalks. That's a big problem in Pasadena, really. So going forward through development and such and zoning, we should really look forward to accessibility to walking to different areas so that we can eliminate car use. And that also goes with public transportation, but that is not necessarily this avenue to discuss about that opportunity. But I just wanted to make some comments about that, and I thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much for your comment, Connor. Those are some great points, and I'm also glad they came from you as a Youth Advisory Council. You know, a lot of times when we talk about transportation and walking, we speak about the option, giving the option for people to walk or bike, and we forget that sometimes people that are youth or also our seniors, they don't really have that option of driving. So they're, you know, stuck with the sidewalks and paths that we provide. And it's important that we do our best to create a walkable and bikeable and rollable safe space for everyone. Thank you. Well, with 20 minutes left, I think at this point we have a board full of comments from everyone. We touched on many different topics, and thanks for everyone that contributed to this conversation. I am going to go ahead and sharing my PowerPoint again to discuss briefly what's coming up. So my screen for next steps and opportunities for involvement.
Hey, Lorenzo, before
Yes.
you jump into that, we did have some questions in the chat that I don't know if you want to cover that didn't necessarily, I don't know if they necessarily made it to the board. Do we want to, I think there's maybe just 2 or 3. Do you want to cover those real quick?
Yes, let me backtrack a second to the previous slide and just would you feel like reading some of those?
Sure. Yeah. So I think the first question was just about, it was from Priscilla Kanya. Will the region plan strive to create age-friendly communities? Was her question.
And Eric, would you like to comment on that? I think it's somewhat related to what we were just speaking of just a few minutes ago, but is there anything else that perhaps regarding the healthy communities chapter or any other of those topics that may be of interest regarding age friendliness of our places that you would like to add?
I think we pretty much covered a lot of that, but one thing I would emphasize is if there are specific areas of the community or specific ideas or thoughts you have, please let us know. That's what the feedback maps are there for. Opportunity for, you know, email county staff as well as the SAC if you have specifics or anything along those lines. But yeah, this is something that we're going to be discussing throughout the year as well.
Okay, so there was another question from Lily Openshaw regarding, the comment was, it's important to understand the level of development that the city is planning, the city of Annapolis. Is there any way to indicate their planned use? This impacts the infrastructure on the Annapolis Neck Peninsula. And I think I can respond to that, at least initially, that we are planning on having the city join us on several of our SAC meetings, particularly the land use and transportation meeting. And then again, they're going to be hosting a specific meeting regarding their comprehensive plan that they are updating. It's due to be completed this summer. So we'll be having a specific meeting dedicated to the city, in addition to them attending a lot of our topical meetings for the SAC. So that's sort of my first, if anyone has anything to add, feel free, but.
I think, yeah, that is a good point, and our interaction with sister agencies. Any other comment or question in the chat that you think is relevant at this time?
We did have one just in regards to the feedback map. Are comments limited by letter or word count? If so, what are the limits? Does anyone know that?
The feedback map comments should not be limited. If you would like to send a very long comment, you could do that on the feedback map and also include it in an email to us so that we can analyze it more readily, but there is no character limit.
Thanks, Gary.
I think the rest of the questions sort of got covered either in various speaking opportunities and through the chat as well. So I think we're covered to move on.
Awesome. And so let me share again and see, because now it's also time almost for me to give you our email addresses in case we're not able to see something or we want to do a little more in-depth analysis of what you asked us to answer you, but we'll get there in a second. First, let me mention some of the next steps that are coming up. They're going to be exciting for everyone. The feedback maps that we demonstrated is going to be live until June 9th in terms of commenting features. So please use it. Let us know about that intersection near your house, that workplace you go to, and place that you want to tell us about. If it's a positive comment, if it's something that you think needs instead improvement that we can work on, we'll take those very, very seriously. And it's very helpful to actually point out specifically where something is needed or it's just working great. And you know, we wouldn't know unless you tell us. So please tell us. Next, we're going to have a lot of in-person outreach events throughout the regions. Follow on the hubs, register for a mailing list, and you will be up to date with all the events that we're going to be hosting. There's going to be some more traditional events, some virtual ones like today's. Thirdly, community visioning is anticipated for this late summer and early fall. Now, what does that mean? It's a little abstract if you just read it on a PowerPoint like I just did. Community visioning is really about putting in writing some of the big ideas that we have for the county. How do we want our neighborhood? How do we want our parks and workplaces and schools and streets to be in the next 10, 20, 30 years? And how do we get there? So let's make a roadmap for it. But there's going to be events and sessions where what we're going to be doing is asking you to let us know what these words are and what these ideas that you have are. And we couldn't do this without you. So please participate in those opportunity events that we have. Lastly, there's monthly stakeholder advisory committee meetings. Those are divided region by region. So there's going to be meetings for 2, 4, and 7. The topics are across the board. They each month are the same. They should be the same mostly according to all the scheduling. But for this month, it's the theme is economy and public facilities. So if you're particularly interested in that, connect. Some meetings are, you should check on your hub what kind of format the meeting is in. and see what time it starts and the date of the event. But you can find all of that on www.aacounty.org/hubs. But that is definitely another very interesting way of participating in this process. And finally, thank you to everyone that joined us today. Another shout out to the Hub site. And those are the ones that you see on the screen are the emails for the specific regions. So if you know that your topic or comment or question could be addressed better in a specific region setting, please email those and get in touch with the staff that is more readily available to you. This is the final slide. I don't know if anyone from our team would like to say anything else before we disconnect, or this is it.
I'll say something. I just want to thank everybody for coming out and participating. I know we're going to see some of you this evening at this evening's forum. But again, stay engaged. There'll be plenty of opportunities to participate, but we really, really appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend a little bit of your afternoon with us.
Thank you, Christina, and thank you, everyone. I will see you later tonight or at the next meeting. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye.